Hi, and a very welcome back to all the learners. Today, we are going to understand about the process of ecological succession with reference to how it takes place in aquatic habitat and how it takes place in dry habitat. Right, so last time we had understood about the process of succession. So today we are going to understand that process in with reference to these two types of habitat. Right, so we start first of all with the understanding of what is hydrosphere. Right, so hydrosphere is a succession that takes place in aquatic habitat. Right, so any succession that takes place in aquatic habitat would be termed as hydrosphere, and this can take place in ponds, pools, or lakes. Right, so it can take place in any kind of water body. Right, so the two main important terms that we are going to understand during this process is seer and seral community. Though we have understood about these terms during the process of succession, but we will understand this during this hydrosphere and xerosphere explanation also, where you will be able to relate the seer formation and seral communities more clearly. Right, so we will be understanding these two terms. Now, as I told, that hydrosphere can take place in any kind of aquatic habitat, but here for our understanding we will start with the we will understand this the process of hydrosphere with reference to ponds. That is how hydrosphere takes place in ponds. Right, so the very first stage in the process of aquatic succession is phytoplankton stages. Right, so as you can see, this is the primitive community, the primary community that is going to colonize the pond. Right, so this phytoplankton formation takes place in very primitive kind of medium. When I say primitive, it means that there is very less things present there, very less amount of things present for any organism to survive. Right, so when it is a primitive environment where very less things are present, these kind of phytoplanktons are going to colonize. Right, so these are the very first organisms that will colonize the pond. Right, so therefore these are also called as the primary community, or these are also called as the pioneer community. Right, so these are known as the pioneer community, that is the very first community that is going to colonize the pond. So examples of this phytoplanktons are blue green algae, any kind of green algae, bacteria, diatoms, etc. Right, right, so why are these the pioneer community is because they multiply very fast. Right, so all these very minute organisms, they multiply very fast and they grow for a very short period, that is their lifespan is very short. So as they multiply very fast, more organic matter will be added as the death of these organisms take place, and since they have a very short period of time, so both of these will contribute to the addition of organic matter to the pond. Right, so I think most of you must already be knowing about what are phytoplanktons. Right, so phyto means plants. Right, and so these are organisms, green organisms that are present in the aquatic habitat. Right, so these are called phytoplanktons, and all of these blue green algae, diatoms, and all are phytoplanktons. Right, so the very first stage is the phytoplankton stage. Now during this stage, the pH value reduces to not more than 5, right? And these phytoplanktons will later on, as they have a very short period of time to survive, they survive very less, so later on their death and decay will lead to their deposition at the base of the pond. So as all of these organisms will deposit at the base after their death, the level of the soil will increase, slightly, and the water level will decrease, because all of these organisms, they later on accumulate at the bottom, and due to this the level increases of the substratum, whereas the level of the water will decrease because the organic content has increased, right? So this is the phytoplankton stage, which is the very first stage. It is also called as the pioneer stage, and the organisms that are present there are known as pioneer community, right? So now we move towards the understanding of the second stage, which follows the phytoplankton stage, is the rooted submerged stage, right? So now, as I told, that death and decomposition of phytoplanktons will take place. So due to the death and decomposition of phytoplanktons and silting due to rainwater. Now as we know that rain falls, and due to rainfall silting takes place. What is silting? Silt is particles of soil, right? So these silt particles, they will move along with the rain into the pond, and due to this both things, that is the death and decomposition of phytoplankton and the silting of soil due to rainwater, the organic content of the pond will increase, right? So due to presence of both of this, that is the dead matter of phytoplankton and the silted soil particles, there will be a formation of very soft mud, right? So when such kind of formation takes place at the bottom, now this kind of environment is not suitable for phytoplanktons to grow. So the organisms, that is the phytoplanktons, they themselves modify their environment to give path to another kind of organisms, which are rooted submerged organisms, right? So as soft mud formation takes place, so this becomes unsuitable for the growth of phytoplanktons, and therefore other organisms come, that is this soft mud is suitable for the growth of rooted submerged hydrophytes, right? We know what are hydrophytes. Hydrophytes are organisms that survive in aquatic habitat, and they are rooted submerged, which means that their roots and body, everything is submerged inside the water. So now the organisms that will come into picture are the rooted submerged hydrophytes, right? So by now we already know that phytoplankton stage was the first stage. Now after the death and decay of these organisms, see the soil level has increased, right? And the water level has decreased. So now will come in picture the rooted submerged stage. As you can see here in the figure, these are rooted submerged hydrophytes. These are totally submerged in water along with their roots and all the body parts, right? So examples of such organisms are Myrophyllum, Elodia, Hydrilla, Vallisneria, Utricularia, etc., right? So of all these, you people are much aware of what is Hydrilla, because Hydrilla we also use in our botany experiments, right? So all of you must be aware of Hydrilla, and Hydrilla is a rooted submerged hydrophyte, right? So during this stage, Hydrilla type of plants, they are dominant because soft mud formations encourages the growth of rooted submerged hydrophytes, right? So now, because of the death and decay of these organisms, this will lead to buildup of more substrata, right? So this that we see, the base is the substrata, right? Now as these organisms will decay, this will again add up to the substratum formation, so the substratum layer will again increase, and this will lead to the decrease in water level. Obviously, as these organisms will deposit at the bottom, the substratum level will increase, the soil level will increase, the organic matter will increase, right? And this will, as the level will increase, so this will lead to the decrease in the water level. So as the habitat will become unsuitable for rooted submerged hydrophytes, so there will be replacement of these plants giving way to another plants, right? So one thing you will see common in every stage is that there will be death and decomposition of the present organisms, and this will increase the substratum formation. This will increase the level of the substratum, and it will decrease the level of the soil. So that particular change in habitat will replace the present organism with new organism. This is a continuous process which takes place during the process of succession, and you will observe it in every stage of hydrosphere, right? So as these organisms will be added, this will bring about further buildup of substrata, right? And the water level will decrease. So now the environment will not be suitable for rooted submerged stage, right? So now comes in picture the next stage, which will be termed as floating submerged stage, right? So now as the rooted submerged plants have died and these have decomposed, this has led to the formation of more substrata, and so now the water depth by now is almost 2 to 5 feet, right? So so these plants, they colonize the habitat with their rhizomes. So by now we know that phytoplanktons will after their death and decomposition will lead to the formation of rooted submerged hydrophytes, because the environment becomes unsuitable for phytoplanktons. And after the death and decay of rooted submerged stage, next plants will come into picture, which will be termed as the floating submerged hydrophytes, right? Or we can also term them these as rooted floating hydrophytes, right? Because why are these called floating submerged? Because their roots and whole body is submerged in water, but only their leaf portion is present on the water, on the surface of the water, is floating on the surface of the water, right? So as all of these rooted submerged hydrophytes has led to the formation of more substrata. Now this substrata is unsuitable for the growth of rooted submerged, so this will be replaced by floating submerged, right? So these plants, they have large leaves floating on the surface, whereas the rest body is present inside the water, right? So example of such floating submerged plants are Nilambo, Trapa, right, Monocoria, etc. As well as Nymphia that we learned, that is also an example of floating submerged hydrophytes, right? So this image that you see is of floating submerged hydrophytes, right? So Nilambo is nothing but lotus plant, and this that you see is water lily, which is called Nymphia, right? So Nymphia, Nilambo, and plants, any plant that you see like this having floating leaves are called floating submerged hydrophytes. So now I think you can relate that whenever you see these kind of habitat, these kind of natural pond where you can see the presence of these lotus and water lilies, I think now you can remember that that particular pond would be in which stage of succession, right? So somewhere along that pond is going towards succession, and this will lead to the formation of a terrestrial habitat later on, right? So also, apart from these kind of floating submerged plants, there could be present these kinds of very small free floating species, right? So this green part, apart from the floating leaves that you see, is free floating species, right? These are very very small plants, very minute plants. They have complete root, stem and leaves. So these are but very minute. These are Azolla, Lemna, Wolffia, Salvinia, etc. Wolffia is the smallest, the most smallest plant, right? So all of these plants are also present in this stage, right? So this is about floating submerged stage. And the death and decay, the same thing will follow. As the death and decay of this floating submerged plants will take place, this will lead to further build up of substratum, and further the water level will decrease, right? Because all of these plants, as they will decompose, this will add up to the organic matter of the soil, this will add up to the substratum content, right? And this will lead to the formation of build up of substratum and decrease in water level. So the organisms themselves will modify their environment in such a way that this will be replaced by the next upcoming organisms, right? So this is about floating submerged stage. Now as the environment becomes unsuitable for them, this will be replaced by next type of plants, the next stage, which is reed swamp stage, right? Now this stage is also known as the amphibious stage or the amphibian stage, right? Why are these called amphibious stage? Is because these are organisms that are rooted in the water, but all of its assimilatory organs, these remain exposed in the air, right? So what are assimilatory organs? Organs that are associated with photosynthesis, right? With assimilation work, all of these parts, that is the leaves and the stem, are exposed in the air, right? So by now we know that due to the death, decay and decomposition of phytoplanktons, rooted submerged hydrophytes and floating submerged hydrophytes, the level of substratum has increased, right? And the water level has decreased a lot, right? Now as this has decreased, this has become unsuitable for the growth of floating submerged, and this leads to the next stage, which is reed swamp stage. These are amphibians. See, their body part are outside the pond, right? And the root is submerged inside. So therefore these are also called amphibious stage. Now these organisms, the examples that we can consider is Scirpus, Typha, Sagittaria, Phragmites, etc. Right? So now these organisms, they have very well developed rhizome and they form dense vegetation, right? So one example that we can consider here is, see, these are this example is of Typha, right? So Typha as you can see very well that they have a dense vegetation. They have very nicely observed green vegetation area, right? The stem and leaves, and these have roots, but these are submerged in the water, right? So this is also typha. This is the reproductive part of typha, right? So we can see that it has well developed rhizome. Okay, so in the place of roots, these have rhizomes, and rhizomes are very well known for spreading in the soil and holding the soil, right? So these rhizomes, they help in spreading in the soil, and by that it adds up to the organic matter, and the dense vegetation also later on will add up more to the organic matter, and this will lead to the formation of dry substratum, right? So this is called reed swamp stage, and the water level will by now be reduced to a very less amount, because all of these will decay and decompose, adding up to the organic matter. So now as all of these will decay and decompose, so this will again add up to the substratum level, and the level of the bottom part will increase, the substratum will increase, and the water level will decrease even more, right? So now this will become unsuitable for the reed swamp organisms. The Scirpus and typha ones will not be able to grow as the water level has decreased, and this will lead to our next stage, which is sedge meadow stage, right? So by now we know that due to death and decay of organisms from all of these stages up to the reed swamp stage has led to the increase in the level of the soil, right? And due to that, this has become unsuitable for the amphibious plants to survive, and therefore comes into picture the sedge meadow stage plant, right? So due to this successive decrease in water level and increase in the level of substratum, now there will be species of Cyperaceae and Gramineae family, they will start colonizing, right? So these species, they form mat like vegetation with the help of rhizomaceous roots, right? So what is mat like vegetation is, as I explained before, they have rhizomes present. Now rhizomes are very well known for spreading on the topsoil, right? And they hold the soil very firmly, so they form a mat over the soil with their roots. So these rhizomaceous roots are very important for holding the soil, and this will add up to the organic matter in a great way, right? So these form mat like vegetation, and all of these plants, they have very high rate of transpiration, so there will be very rapid loss of water. So whatever water is present in the soil will be lost very fast because of the high rate of transpiration. So all of these parts will transpire very fast, leading to the loss of water. So water present in the soil will be lost, and therefore mud is exposed to the air. Now there is more muddy area rather than watery area which is exposed to the air, because the water gets lost because of transpiration, right? So now during this stage, the nutrients like ammonia, sulfides gets oxidized to nitrates and sulfates. So nutrients that are present in the soil, they will get oxidized into nitrates and sulfates, and therefore as these plants will respire and transpire, so these will add up to more of the organic matter after that death and decay, right? So the substratum will rise even more, and therefore the marshy condition which was there, right? We know what is marshy condition, right? This marshy condition will disappear and mesic conditions will start. So what is mesic condition? Mesic condition is a condition where it is a condition where it is not completely dry environment and it is not completely wet environment, so it is something between the two, right? But it is not marshy condition but not completely dry and not completely wet. So a mesic condition comes into picture as these cyperaceae and gramineae plants, they start colonizing. So this picture that you see is of cypress, right? So plants like this starts colonizing during this stage, right? Now, due to death and decomposition of these organisms, more organic matter will be added, and this will lead to the next stage, which is woodland stage, right? So as the substratum has increased, now the water level is almost negligible, or we can say that there is no water level, but therefore the disappearance of marshy vegetation takes place, and this leads to the soil becoming more drier every year, right? So now the soil that we will be observing would be a dry soil where there is not much water, kind of mesophytic condition, right? And so we know that due to the death and decomposition of all these organisms in all these stages has led to the increase of the substratum, the bottom level, where now we can see that there is no water present by now, right? So the substratum level has increased. Now this encourages the development of woodland species of certain trees or shrubs, right? So here we can observe small shrubs like salix and cornus, and trees like populus, almus, etc. These are small trees and small shrubs that we can see into picture. So this is woodland stage where terrestrial plants, they start invading because of the change in habitat, right? So again the same thing is happening. The organism after that death and decay change their environment in such a way that it becomes unsuitable for themselves, but it becomes suitable for the survival of the upcoming organisms, right? So this is about woodland stage, right? So by this time there is so much accumulation of humus, and there is very rich flora of microorganisms also. So much humus has accumulated. By humus I mean the accumulation of organic matter, the accumulation of rich soil that we need for the terrestrial plants to grow, right? So much humus has accumulated, and this leads to the development of new stage. Now the mineralization leads to development of new tree species. What is mineralization? These organisms, they act upon the organic matter and lead to mineralization, right? And minerals are released, so this leads to the development of new tree species. So here comes into picture the next stage, which is the forest stage, right? So here huge trees will be visible, that leads to the formation of forest. So a rapid growth of several trees would be observed. Now these woodland species, they will again after then their death and decay will lead to the development of more organic matter, more substratum, giving path to forest species, forest trees, right? So now a very important term which is called the climax community. So this forest trees that we observe now are known as the climax community, because this climax community is not replaceable, right? So the woodland species will very rapidly be invaded by climax community, the forest community. This is the stable community, right? Because this community will not be replaced easily by any other community, because this community is in equilibrium with the present environment, with the present habitat, right? So unless and until some other activity like forest fire or something accidental activity happens, these organisms are not going to get replaced by any organism. This is the climax community, the and stabilizing community that has developed after years of succession, right? So forest stage is also called the climax stage, where it has climax community like trees present, right? And this, the very first stage that we saw during the process of hydrosphere, is the pioneer community. That is the very first community, right? These are responsible for the development of all other stages, and the climax community is the one that is not going to now replaced by any other stages or any other organisms, right? Now another important term that we need to understand is seral community, right? So these all organisms that help in the formation of this sear, right, is called the seral community. Now what is sear? Sear is the sequence of changes that takes place from the very first level, from the beginning to the climax, is called sear. And the community that help in the formation of sear are called seral community. So all these are seral community, and these are called seral stages. For example, phytoplankton stage is one seral stage, rooted submerged stage is another seral stage. Like this, all of these are seral stages, right? And all of these community that are present, the organisms that replace each other one after the another, are called the seral communities. Now if the climate is tropical, right, so this will lead to the formation of tropical rainforest. If the climate is temperate, this will lead to the formation of mixed forest. And if the climate is moderate rainfall kind of climate, then this will lead to the formation of tropical deciduous or monsoon forest, right? So it depends upon the climate of that area, and depending upon that area, the forest type will develop, right? So this is about the last stage, the climax stage, the forest stage, right? Now very quickly we will take a quick look into what are the different stages in the process of aquatic succession. So the very first stage is the phytoplankton stage, where blue green algae, diatoms and bacteria colonize. And then the next stage that we observed is the rooted submerged stage. These have organisms like hydrilla, right? And these, after the death and decay, gets replaced by next organism, the next stage, which is the floating submerged stage, which is colonized by floating submerged hydrophytes like Nelumbo, Nymphia, Trapa, etc. And then follows the next stage. After the death and decay of all these organisms will come the next stage, which is reed swamp stage, which will give rise to give part to organisms that are amphibious in their nature. These are Typha, Sagittaria, Scirpus and all. And after the death and decay of these organisms, as the water level will decrease more and the substratum will increase, will lead to the formation of sedge meadow stage, where organisms like the plants of Gramineae and Cyperaceae family will come into picture. Examples are Carex, Juncus and Cyperus. And later on this will be replaced by woodland stage, where plants like Salix, Populus, Alnus will come into picture. And then the last stage would be the forest stage, where this woodland trees will be completely replaced by forest trees, for example Almus, Acer, Quercus, etc. Right, so this is about the stages in ecological succession in aquatic habitat. This we term as hydrosphere, that is the succession which takes place in aquatic environment, leading to the development of a terrestrial environment. Right, now as I told, the important term is sphere. Right, sphere is the sequence of changes that takes place from the very beginning, the pioneer stage, to the very last, that is the climax stage. Right, this sequence is called sphere, and the stages that are present in the formation of sphere are called seral stages. And the communities, so these all examples that we saw are the communities that help in the formation of sphere, are called the seral community. So for example Typha is a seral community, for example Nymphia is a seral community. So all of these examples that we see, these are seral communities. Right, so I hope that this is clear with you about hydrosphere. Right, so and what is sphere, what are seral stages, what are seral communities. Right, so now we move towards the understanding of xerosphere. Right, so xerosphere is the succession that starts in dry situations. Right, so xerosphere, as we know, as it starts in dry situation, so it could be in any kind of dry situation. Right, it could be in on the rock or on the sand, but in our study we are going to understand xerosphere with reference to lithosphere. Right, so lithosphere is also a kind of xerosphere which originates on rock surfaces. Right, but we have also learnt that samosphere is also a xerosphere. If you remember, samosphere is the succession which starts on sand, so that is also a type of xerosphere, but we will understand with respect to lithosphere. Right, so lithosphere is that xerosphere which takes place, succession which takes place or originates on rock surfaces. Right, so we start with the understanding of xerosphere. The very first stage that is taking place is crustose lichen stage. Right, here the substratum is very poor. So in any kind of process of succession, the very first thing is that the substratum would be primitive. It would be very poor, where nothing would be present. Right, so it would be deficient in water, and the environment here is deficient in water, and it lacks organic matter. There is no organic matter present for the plants to grow. And also, since it is xerosphere, so there is extremes of temperature. Right, so if cold is present, it would be extreme cold. If summer is present, hot environment is present, that it would be extreme hot. Right, so this will lead to the very first organisms that will be formed in such kind of very poor substratum would be crustose type of lichens. So here the pioneers in xerosphere stage are the crustose type of lichens. Right, so what are crustose type of lichens? See, here the image that you see is of crustose lichen. Right, so these are lichens that form a crust over the substratum. This is the substratum, this is the rock, and this is the crust of the lichen. Now the crust is the crust of lichen actually gets attached to the substratum so tightly that you cannot separate the lichen and the substratum completely. If you want to separate, you will have to disintegrate or demolish this surface. So that is the characteristic of crustose type of lichens. So the very first organisms, pioneers, would be the crustose type of lichens, and the example of such lichens are Rhizocarpon, Rhinodina and Lecanora. Now see, these organisms, these lichens, they produce certain acids. So as they produce acids, these acids leads to the breaking down of rocks, and this bring about withering of rocks, right? And so as there will be withering of rocks, so small particles of rocks will be released, and these organisms will also die, so it will have its dead matter. So there will be dead matter as well as small particles of rocks. This will add up to a very thin soil layer, right? So but this is a very slow process. So as you can see here, this is the very first stage where you can see that there is formation of this kind of crustose lichen over the what we say, over the rock surface, right? Now as this will die and small particles of rocks will accumulate, this will lead to the formation of the next stage, which is called foliose lichen stage, right? So foliose lichen stage replaces the crustose lichen, right? So here now the crustose lichens gets replaced by foliose lichen. So this foliose lichen, they actually develop on substratum built up by crustose lichen. So as I told that after the death and decay of crustose lichen, what will happen is it will mix up with the withered rock material, and this will make a very small soil layer, very thin soil layer, and due to that the substratum, this is developed by crustose lichen. This will lead to the formation of foliose lichen. So in this stage the foliose lichens are the dominant organisms. So see, these are foliose lichen. Why are these called foliose lichens? Because their thalli looks like foliage of any algae or bryophyte, and it looks like a foliage of a plant, therefore it is called foliose lichens. Now example of such species are Parmelia and Dermatocarpon. So during this stage, as you can see, after the accumulation of lichens and all, and after then death and decay, this will lead to the formation of foliose type of lichens. These are green, right? And for those who do not know what are lichens, lichen is a combination of symbiosis between algae and fungi, and these are very useful organisms in the process of withering, right? So these lichens, they will absorb and retain water. Since these are green, these can absorb green, and they can perform photosynthesis. These will absorb water and they can store water in them, right? So this will this can retain water, so dust particles will also accumulate in it because it is wet. So dust particles will get attached to them, and this will lead to accumulation of dust particles, right? And after that death and decay, this will lead to the accumulation of humus, accumulation of organic matter. So this will add up more to the layer of the substratum, and withering of the rock is also taking place. So this will add up to the accumulation of humus. Right now, the accumulation of this humus and the withering of the rock together will again lead to the development of a very fine thin soil layer. And now as the death and decay of these organisms takes place, so this adds up to the soil layer. So this become unsuitable for foliose lichens to survive, and this will lead to a change in habitat, and this will give rise to moss stage, right? So as the substratum has become unsuitable for foliose lichen, so the thin soil layer on rock surface and crevices give rise to development of xerophytic mosses. Now we know what are mosses. Mosses are most of the bryophytes that you study. So these is bryophyte, right? So the example of mosses are Polytrichum, Funaria, Tortula, right, Gremia, all of the bryophytes that we study, the xerophytic mosses, right, these will start accumulating, and these are going to compete with the lichens. So lichens are in competition in with these mosses, and therefore the mosses will replace the lichens, and they will become dominant during this stage, right? So again, after the death and decay of these organisms, this adds up to the soil layer. So again the substratum will increase, the substratum will change, right? So more organic matter will be increasing because of the death and decay of all of this, right? So now we can see that the rock surface is totally covered with mosses, and these kind of bryophytes, they have started growing over, right? So the organic matter, it increases. Now after the death and decay, this becomes unsuitable for the growth of mosses, and therefore the next stage comes into picture, which is known as the herb stage, right? Now due to the extensive growth of mosses, soil layers, minerals and organic matters has been already added up in the soil. Now more mosses leads to development of more organic matter after that death and decay, right? And there are minerals also released. Now these minerals are released because of leaching of overlying vegetation. So the vegetation gets leached, and due to that minerals gets added up. Again the environment changes, right? So here we can see shallow rooted grasses like Poa, Aristida and all. So these are the shallow rooted grasses which will now develop, right? So this leads to the growth of herbaceous weeds. So these herbaceous weeds are nothing but Poa and Aristida kind of grasses. These have shallow roots. These will spread in the soil, adding up to the organic matter. Also there will be certain plants like annuals, biennials and perennials. Annuals are the ones that complete their life cycle maybe in a year, biennials in 2 years or 2 seasons, perennials in 3 years or maybe more than 2 or in many seasons, right? So such kind of small flowering plants will also start coming into picture. So this is the herb stage, right? Now after the death and decay of all these organisms, this will add up to the organic matter, right? So the death of these organisms takes place, and the withering of rocks take place, and this leads to the formation of more humus, more organic matter. So this becomes now unsuitable for the growth of herb stage, and there comes the next stage, which is the shrub stage, right? So shrub stage, again after the accumulation of so much humus, this becomes suitable for the growth of shrubs, which replaces the herb plants, right? So this dominate the area and they overshadow the herb vegetation. So as they compete with the herb vegetation gets replaced, and the shrub vegetation dominate the area. Now due to further accumulation of humus, again this substratum, this habitat would become unsuitable for the formation of shrubs, and this will lead to the formation of new plants after that, right? So now these herb plants gets replaced by shrubs. So these are shrubs like salix and all. So these shrubs, they start dominating the area, and so this vegetation is replaced by shrubs. So then follows the next stage, which is the forest stage, right? So forest stage is the last climax stage. Now after the shrubs have died and decayed, the environment becomes unsuitable for shrubs, which is replaced by trees, right? So these trees are xerophytic tree species. These invade the environment. So these shrubs, these trees actually, they compete with shrubs and they replace the shrubs, right? So and the environment also becomes unsuitable for the shrubs. So this leads to the formation of xerophytic trees that can survive the environment, and this will add up to the accumulation of humus. There will be arrival of more number of trees, and more humus content will be added as all of these will die and decay. This will again favor the arrival of more and more trees and vegetation, right? So as you can see, this shrub will be replaced by various kinds of forest trees, right? So these forest trees, they die, and after their decay, more organic matter adds up and more new species, they come into picture, right? So this favors more formation of mesophytic habitat. So later on, mesophytic habitat will be formed, habitat which is not completely dry and not completely wet, right? So there develops the forest community. So very quickly we will see how the xerosphere develops. The first stage is the crustose lichen stage, where crustose lichens are formed over the bare rock surfaces. These are Rhizocarpon, Rhinodina, Licanora. Then comes the next stage, which is foliose lichen stage, where the crustose lichens are replaced, and by the substratum developed by crustose lichen, the foliose lichen forms over that substratum. And here the example is Parmelia and Dermatocarpon. Now after the death and decay of these organisms, moss stage comes into existence, where due to change in habitat, all the mosses, bryophytes, they come into picture like Polytrichum. And after the moss stage, the mosses gets replaced by herb stage. So here comes into picture grasses like Poa, Aristida and all. And then comes the next stage, which is the shrub stage, where organisms like rus, Phytocarpus, shrubs, they come into picture. So this is the example of rus. And then the very last, the climax stage, is the stage where forest trees come into picture, where mesophytic trees come into picture, where trees are present in mesophytic environment, right? So this is about the xerosphere formation, ecological succession in xerosphere. So these stages that we see are the seral stages. This from the beginning, that is the crustose lichen, is the pioneer organism. From the pioneer organism to the climax organism, the climax stage, the sequence that is formed is the seer. And these all organisms that constitute in the formation of seer is the seral community, right? So this is it about xerosphere formation. I hope this is clear with you, but if you have any doubt, you can ask me. So with this, we come to the end of this lecture. I'll be back with a new lecture soon. Till then, you all can clear your doubts, right? Thank you.